This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 500. Yes, that's right. This is our 500th episode celebration, recorded live from Missouri. My name is Daniel Smukowski, and I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and the Special Olympics Sergeant Shriver International Global Messenger. Before we begin today's 500th episode, a few housekeeping reminders. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast, we are podcasting live from Jefferson City, Missouri for our 500th episode celebration. Please put your virtual hands together as we recount our favorite podcast moments from the past 500 episodes. We premiere our all-new sizzle reel of clips from this podcast, and we bring you on stage for host Daniels, that's me, my latest keynote talk from challenges to opportunity right here on the Special Chronicles podcast. And joining me back is a familiar voice that you have heard on previous episodes, a familiar voice, part of the Special Chronicles team, and that is...
Hi, Daniel. Thank you. This is Adam. I'm Daniel's dad, as well as the business manager for Special Chronicles. We are really excited to reach a very important step,
milestone,
and that's having recorded 500 episodes on Special Chronicles. So we're here to celebrate that, and Daniel has several things to do the celebration.
Yes, that's right. And it's just for listeners who maybe keep a track on their own. I know we have got an internal spreadsheet, but 500 official episodes, because if long-time listeners recall, the first year we had a different name, so we kind of had a different sequence, and then we've done a bunch of bonus episodes. We did, if listeners, you remember 2015 at the Special Olympics World Games in Los Angeles, I did a live daily podcast there, and that we didn't number it with the sequence. So technically, if you include all those bonus episodes, we've probably done more than 500 by now, but 500 with this sequence. So just to kind of clarify that. We introduced ourselves, but... So this, as we said, 500th episode, and for listeners to kind of, if there's any new listeners out there, I, as a founder, what started as one little podcast has now grown to a platform, a whole network of, a small network of podcasts, a nonprofit media platform, and it started, I started this 14 years ago. 14 years ago. This we'll pre-recording this a little bit ahead of time, but you guys will hear this. New episodes drop every Monday, 6 p.m. Central Time, every Monday. So this will drop on the 14th of November. So already the 15th of November is kind of when I first started podcasting, first released that first episode 14 years ago. And it's quite a humbling experience to still be making an impact. I mean, little did I know 14 years ago that listeners in the mainstream community really, when they heard my story and the stories of the guests, the interviews that I've had on over the years, ever since the very, very first year, where I think we had 50 downloads that first year. 2008 to 2009, the perspectives on those of us with disabilities, the perspective of disability changed for many listeners. I know one particular, I'm not going to mention any names, but I know one particular listener that may have used the word retard under the podcast. But once this listener started hearing my story and hearing the stories of my friends, the guests that I was bringing on, their perspective on disability changed. And that's just one of many examples. I don't know if you wanted to kind of comment on the impact of the past 14 years, the past 500 episodes.
Yeah, Daniel, I think when I kind of look back at the last 14 years and the 500 episodes, I see an evolution. And, we started with trying to always have the mission of giving respect and voice to people with special needs. But the evolution became in how many people wanted to tell their stories. And I think that was kind of exciting. As we started talking to people about it, and they shared their stories, we shared ours, and all of a sudden, more people wanted to listen to what the life of individual is with special needs. And that started to grow, where people will start sharing more about their lives. How complicated their lives, the challenges they had, and the good that they were able to develop. And all those experiences that people shared, I think, is the evolution is in the fact that people with disabilities and their friends and family are learning from it. And they're able to incorporate that into their own lives. So somebody with disabilities, for example, they're able to do more things. They're not as shy about the fact that somebody may laugh at them. They go out and they believe in themselves. They go out and try new things, whether it's joining Special Olympics or believing themselves into maybe getting a job and asking for an employer. Also believing in themselves in the everyday life in their community, whether it's to join some organization or the local church, or just say hi to people in their own community. And of course, when a lot of them have expanded their participation in Special Olympics, which has created a whole new world for them. They started bonding with people and families, and they started developing friends, and they started developing confidence in themselves. So that's the evolution I see, and we see it in each of the shows where people talk about their stories, and that's the evolution that I see over the last 500 episodes.
Well, that's really powerful, and I'm sure if any of you are listening right now, want to share your feedback, send us either in audio files or either in just open up the voice memo app on your phone, record an audio file, or email and share your stories with us. Feedback@specialchronicles.com. Feedback@specialchronicles.com, and let us know the impact that the past 500 episodes that all podcasts are making. And yeah, you want to add to that?
Yeah, Daniel, and I think that in addition to what Daniel's saying and my thoughts on the revolution, what's really important here is that we as Special Chronicles are basically able to get a lot of people to come in and talk about their lives, and this is how the evolution started. But I think what's important over the last 500 episodes is that we're creating a lot of positive results, but not because of anything that we do. We're basically sharing stories. It's all the stories of all the wonderful people over the last 500 episodes, whether they be athletes or family members or professionals, executives in the corporate world or whoever. It's their stories that kind of make the evolution work and make things better. So we at Special Chronicles, that's what we do. We share everybody else's stories, and it's that's causing the evolution to be really positive for a lot of people, not only the ones that share their stories, but also the listeners, their friends, and their families. And so that's kind of exciting. And I think it's important to remember it's not our stories. It's everybody's stories that, shares it with us.
Well, awesome. I just want to make sure we're still recording. Yeah, speaking of that, of the stories, it reminds me of one of the guests that we have, and I think this is a good transition. I think we're going for about 10 minutes, and a good transition to as we recap some of our favorite moments from the past 500 episodes, and that's one of the guests.
Let me start.
One of the guests was Matthew West, and something that you pointed out about the impact on the stories that we're sharing is Matthew West has a new song called, I think it's called Your Story, His Glory, or something, I think, and a lot of the music that the Christian artist, singer-songwriter Matthew West is all focused on other people's stories, and I feel like that's also kind of what we're doing, but in this podcast digital media platform. And so I didn't write down Matthew West that episode, but I think that's one of my many favorite moments is when Matthew West, which he's featured in our new Sizzle wheel. But that's one of my favorite moments. But yeah, you want to add on to that, Dad?
Well, I'll just start with a few key episodes that I think still are in my mind very vividly, and I'll let Daniel talk more about some other episodes. There's so many. It's really hard for us to say out of 500 episodes.
Yeah, it really is.
Which are the most powerful, because they really all are. Whether it's, and some of the episodes is maybe a new Special Olympic athlete that's still very shy and not knowing what to say, but they want to say something. So listening to their story is, a lot of them are exactly that. And they're all the really powerful ones. But the ones that strike me initially was, and there's a few of them, but one of the most powerful ones, I think, is the one of Tim Shriver. He's the chairman of Special Olympics. His mom founded Special Olympics. And Tim has come on, actually a couple of times in our shows. But the messages that Tim has, and you can listen to him if you've never had the opportunity to listen to Tim.
You were talking about the episode that Tim was on?
That one, or any time, if you have an opportunity to hear him speak, and he goes all around the world speaking all the time. So if he's ever around, I would encourage you to go in and listen to whatever he's going to be saying. But he's an extremely, just a wonderful person, and he conveys the message of the importance of respecting and inclusion and people's special needs, how we do need to, everybody is all one big family. And he and his family, the Shriver family, have just devoted their lives, I think, in the last 50 years to helping people with special needs, including them in the world. But I'm just scratching the surface. Tim says it so beautifully, and Daniel and Tim have some interesting conversations on those topics, and Daniel shares some of his experiences. Tim shares some of his thoughts and experiences going back all the way from his mom to his own experiences to the movement of Special Olympics. So that's probably the most powerful one that I always keep remembering, but there are many other ones. I know Rob Johnson from CBS News, has come on our show, and he's also a board member of Special Olympics Illinois, and he also has a powerful statements, and being in the news media, he can share a lot of those to the world, so people listen to him. But he's motivated because his brother has Down syndrome, so he's spent his whole life involved in helping people that have some special needs, and he does it from the heart. So those are a couple of people, and one of the most recent ones has been Oscar, the past chairman and president of United Airlines Global. CEO. And Oscar, I've had a chance to meet him a few times. Daniel also works for United, so he's got a chance to interview Oscar, and actually a couple on different occasions, different events that United has had. But he had specifically had devoted a show with just him and Oscar talking, and I was really impressed. Oscar's not just a successful corporate executive, but his passion of respecting people and his perspective on how to include people with special needs into the mainstream of life, and he's actually done that at United Airlines. And Daniel is one of the recipients of that. But when I listen to Oscar, it's just my heart kind of drops. He really cares. And that's another one. And I can go on, but we're going to run out of time. I'll let Daniel share some of the ones that he had. But if I was to say, those are the top three ones that are episodes of very successful, good people that are powerful in the world in their standings. But as I said earlier, the ones that are most important are the everyday little athlete that just started the Special Olympics and wants to share their story, and they're still a little scared, but they talk about their life, and that's what it's all about, and that's what Special Chronicles and all our shows and everything we do is about. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts. I'll turn it back to Daniel.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that kind of flow off of what you just shared, but one thing that you just ended with that's what Special Chronicles is about. And I remember when we, after I think it was after like 4 years of podcasting, when we kind of became a nonprofit media organization, right? Nonprofit, yeah, in the state of Illinois, and when we were kind of writing up the description of what the podcast was about and what Special Chronicles, the platform is about, I think our graphic designer Taiwa, who used to be on our board, had kind of helped us to kind of craft these words, and she had said that that Special Chronicles is helping to create a place for others with special needs to be understood. And it's also, we hear first-person accounts of special needs, and so, yeah. So the fact that we're creating a place for people with and without disabilities to be fully included, to be for all stories to be told, is just a really gratifying and empowering part of this mission that I founded, a mission that we have. And I want to also comment on a couple other favorite moments, and then I'll kind of add a couple of mine. Again, like you noted at the top of this 500th episode, we will, just before we pressed record and started recording, we were kind of jotting down our notes, right? Because for the show notes, and it was really hard for us to, as I'm sure you listeners can imagine, it's really hard for us to kind of recount, like, out of the 500 episodes, over 500 episodes the past 14 years, it's hard to kind of nail down some of those best or favorite podcast moments. But I think we're trying to kind of do our best to kind of highlight some just off the top of our heads. And again, we welcome you to kind of share your favorite podcast moments with us. Feedback at specialchronicles.com, or you can DM us on Instagram, Facebook, but just email us, feedback at specialchronicles.com. Share with us some of your favorite podcast moments. But you had mentioned the live podcast that I hosted with Tim Shriver, chairman of Special Olympics. And it was in 2018, July 2018, during the 50th anniversary. We were at the Intercontinental Hotel, and we were in the lobby. Not lobby. We were in the hallway. So right now we're recording in the lobby of the hotel. But with Tim, we were in a hallway. We set up a small table. We had a couple of chairs. I think we had a little vertical backdrop for Special Olympics. But yeah, there was like people, CEOs, and there was people walking by.
Not that many, because it was in one of the larger hotels in downtown Chicago.
Intercontinental.
And they had it was in the hallway, but it was like a segment on one of the floors section. So there really weren't that many people walking around. We were able to kind of isolate it to create a little studio.
Yeah.
We had Special Olympics Illinois there,
Some
with
of the
all
staff.
the staff with all the recording equipment. So it actually looked like a little studio.
Yeah, but yeah, like we had our volunteer producer Darian was holding the iPad screen to I think record live video of us. We had a couple of the marketing Special Olympic staff to do
Several cameras.
Yeah, to do our social media. Yeah, so it's really amazing. We were able to kind of pull off a professional live podcast with a small studio, mostly about. It was amazing. And Tim was nice. His wife Linda was very nice. And
the message.
Yeah, and I think that was in 2018. So that was right now. 2022 is 14 years of podcasting. But at the time, 2018, that was a decade. So now it's over a decade. But I think over a decade, that live podcast with Tim. Again, that was episode 301. This past summer, we broadcasted that. So we'll put a link in the show notes if you want to go and listen to that. I think it was Join the Inclusion Revolution Live with Tim Shriver. If you just look on specialchronicles.com for that episode, I think it was 301. But that's still, over a decade later, 14 years later, that live podcast, I think that falls as one of my best episodes to host. It took years to get to where I was then, to get to where I am now, but it was just an amazing conversation. Part of the conversation was on Tim's first book, Fully Alive, Discovering What Matters Most. And so I had annotated, and Tim even commented on that. I annotated Tim's first, I put notes and stuff in, I had page marked stuff in from his first book, and we went back and forth, and it was just you guys, if you need to go, I think it also the video is on our donate page, specialchronicles.com/give. But it was just an incredible.
What are some of the other ones that you
moments?
remembered?
Yeah, good things. Yeah, just to kind of keep up with time. Some of my other favorite podcast moments. I think another one. I think also is the episode with Oscar Muniz, the former chairman and CEO of United Airlines.
Some of yours.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned them.
Okay. I mean, I've got some of the same as you. Okay. Some additional ones. Okay. Another. Time. Okay, time. Yeah. Okay. Actor John Ross Bali. He starred on the ABC sitcom Speechless. He also was on the CBS The Big Bang Theory. I know one of our board members and one of our advisors at Special Chronicles, Diane Compton. I think she had listened to that episode with John Ross Bali. And so it's when you listen to the episode with that live podcast I did with that live chat with actor John Wasbawi, it was like you're sitting down for coffee with him. John Wasbawi was the only actor from the ABC Speechless that replied when I sent him a DM on Instagram. He was the only one that replied to my DM, and yeah. It was neat because I think on The Big Bang Theory, John played a character who stuttered. On Speechless, he played the dad of a main character, an actor who has CP, cerebral palsy. And so, yeah, so that was one of mine. But also, a lot of the conversations, a lot of the episodes I have with my fellow Special Olympics athletes, whether it's other SSIGMs, Southern Tribal International Global Messengers, or other athletes in Illinois, in Missouri, and Wales, across the country and across the globe, like Ben Hack, my good friend Ben Hack from Australia. Those are always my favorite because it's just so empowering and joyful to get opportunity to share those stories and have them to kind of share those stories with our listeners. And in the Matthew West episode. So we could go on, but I think those are kind of some of, just off the top of my head, those are some of my favorite moments. Since we're at 25 minutes, we're going to briefly kind of introduce you guys the next two segments, which is the sizzle wheel and then the keynote. Do you just want to briefly tell us comment on that 2 minute and 30 second sizzle wheel that we're going to be we premiered it at Special Olympics Missouri's Training for Life campus at the Leadership Summit, but we're gonna put it up the week that this podcast goes live, so you guys will be able to watch and share it. But do you want to comment on that sizzle wheel?
Well, I think that my main thought I just want to share is that we are in Special Olympics Missouri,
On the sizzle wheel.
and their leadership weekend event, and Daniel was the keynote speaker there, and we have it's not only his speech, but we got a little intro section called Sizzle Wheel, and it talks a little bit about Daniel and his mission and all the things the podcast.
It really highlighted the podcast.
And everything we do, and then we're going to talk about Daniel's keynote speech, which really does relay a lot of things we just talked about in a very powerful way. But that's going to be, we just want to introduce that because later in this segment, we're going to, in this episode, we're going to, talk that's a powerful message we want to relay in our 500th episode.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I think this keynote presentation was the way that I gave this talk from Challenges to Opportunity, live from Special Olympics Missouri's Training for Life campus at the Leadership Summit here in Jefferson City, Missouri. It really kind of sums up my story, and it also kind of highlights others, and also kind of shares it nicely, kind of in, I think it was about a 30-minute talk. Don't quote me on that, you guys, but that 30-minute talk, it summarizes the message, the message that I've been sharing the past 14 years, the past 500 episodes. And the audience, I think, loved it. And so just a big thank you to everyone from Carol Griffin, from Andrew, and their entire staff from Special Olympics Missouri, and all the athletes like Lina and Brent and all the athletes. I was just to kind of wrap up this first segment, I want to just highlight my mom texted me after, and she said, "Perfect job as Ms. Zoe keynote." Again, this is my mom's text to me after I spoke. "You did many things well in your talk, but one thing I liked really well was how you highlighted other people, other organizations, other companies. That way you really made it about other people as well as about yourself." And I think that text from my mom really kind of highlights that.
Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they are literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcast free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit specialchronicles.com/Podbean. That's specialchronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard Referral link when you visit specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard.
So with that, we are going to Special Chronicles proudly presents this all-new sizzle reel of clips from this podcast, Special Chronicles, and that will transition into Special Chronicles proudly presents as we bring you on stage to my latest keynote talk, From Challenges to Opportunity, recorded live from Special Olympics Missouri's 2022 Leadership Summit at their Training for Life campus right here in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Now I would like to invite our guest speaker, Danny Morkowski, up to stage. Daniel Morkowski is a Special Illinois athlete and student driver, international global measure. Daniel is a award-winning and veteran broadcast of 14 years, comments and a clean advisory telling disability stories to groundbreaking global performance Special Chronicles reaching hundreds of people each month. As a design media creator, a broadcast video blogger, and public speaking to give respect and videos to people with special needs. Daniel's education informed our community that those who with a different ability become unconditional love and joy each day. Even through communication is Daniel's biggest struggle It has been his biggest passion. Daniel will be speaking to us today about what we can learn from our challenges overcoming his leadership journey. Here's a sizzle reel to get us ready for Daniel.
Welcome back to the Special Chronicles show. My name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Southern Tribal International Global Messenger with Special Olympics. We welcome Matthew West, award-winning single songwriter, lifetime Grammy nominee, and Atkinson 23 your Special Olympics Colorado athlete leader. Today I'm in the program welcoming Tyler and Michael, the directors and writers from the keynote. Welcome to Special Chronicles. What's been your favorite part of being here this week?
I think my favorite part is truly just watching the enthusiasm from the athletes themselves, the camaraderie of watching them all work together.
Why did you want to compete in Special Olympics?
Well, to definitely make everlasting friendships and to challenge myself a little bit better as a leader, a friend, and all things awesome in the Special Olympics movement.
A lot of lessons that our community and listeners could learn from the game. What lesson do you hope that the community learns from us athletes?
Never underestimate what someone can do.
Tell us about how we, this nonprofit organization that you co-founded with you there.
Basically, my dad helps to run it. What we do is we send out just inspirational devotions to people every week. They get an email that has just an encouragement for them.
What does inclusion mean to both of you for making this film and in society?
It means just loving people. It's really common, I think, in this day and age, and I even just heard it in company, for people to be divided or to see differences. And it's really important for me for people to see commonalities and ways to get along. And that's sort of one of the themes of our movie. And also the fact of making the movie feels like that as well. So inclusion to me is just love. I was going to say the exact same thing, word for word.
Please welcome Daniel Smokowski.
Is it on? Hello, Special Olympics, Ms. Zoe. How did everyone enjoy lunch? This is my first time visiting the Campus for Life and Missouri. It's an honor to be speaking with you all today. This afternoon, as I tell you my journey of turning my biggest challenge into my greatest reward, your learn how, because of the Special Olympics movement, we can learn from our challenges and adapt to a new set of circumstances. Before I share with you about the beginning of my story in Special Olympics, I'd like to share with you where I am today. Today, I am a Special Olympics Illinois athlete leader. And I'm also proud to be one of 10 athletes who served Special Olympics International as a Southern Tribal International Global Messenger. Among the 10 of us, I, along with 2 women, represent our North America region. Today, I am also a digital media creator That's what I do. I am an award-winning and veteran podcaster of 14 years, columnist, advocate, and founder of Special Chronicles, telling disability stories with the mission to give respect and voice to people with special needs. This occurs on my groundbreaking global platform, specialchronicles.com, which at all your tables, you can scan the QR code to listen and subscribe to my weekly podcast that drop every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time. And also, that's why one of the live streams is for my mailing list. And actually today, this will be recorded. You all will be a part of the 500th episode. Also today, I am employed by United Airlines. We saw in that sizzle wheel, you saw the lady in white. She is the president of Bridge, United Business Resource Group, that is connecting people of all abilities. And Captain Jill Mills is a good friend, and she is the chief pilot for the Washington, D.C. hub. United Airlines has been a partner with Special Olympics Illinois for many years. United Airlines is also a global partner with Special Olympics International. I work as a customer service ambassador based at Chicago O'Hare Airport. You might have seen me, or will see me, if you fly through O'Hare Airport. I'm lucky in that a lot of what I do today lets me use much of what I learned in college. When I'm doing athlete leadership or volunteerism, I get to apply journalism and social justice, which I pursued at Roosevelt University in Chicago. I graduated from Roosevelt University in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in journalism. Similar to Andrew and similar to another former staff member that I'm sure a lot of you know, a mutual friend, Brandon. So shout out to Brandon, who no longer here, but my journey can be summarized in one statement. Communication is my biggest struggle, but it's also my biggest passion. Communication, as everyone knows, is one of the important means that we use to relate to each other as humans. Communication, as everyone knows, is one of the important means that we use to relate to each other as humans. But for myself, my focus on my leadership journey is communication in the form of spoken or written words. I know a few of you will be graduating with a communications degree in your athlete leadership programs. So I know a lot of you understand how important communication in the form of spoken or written word is. My personal mission in life is to educate and inform our community that those of us with different abilities, myself, the other athletes here today, across your state, back home in Illinois, across the country, and the over 6 million other athletes across the globe in 195 countries, that we bring unconditional love and joy every day. In other words, we have a lot to share. Like many or most athletes in Special Olympics, I started participating in sports. I mostly done swimming and basketball. Because in my very early elementary schools, I would come home from school in tears because a lot of my classmates didn't understand. At first, the sports were a way to make friends. And then athlete leadership became a new way to be involved with the movement. And my life has never been the same. So it started with sports, as I'm sure a lot of you know, the movement of Special Olympics trains us for life. Trains us for life. So that's why I'm honored again to be here at your new Training for Life campus. Athlete leadership, which at first was mostly given speeches, similar to today, and doing meet and greets, like shaking hands, like I shook Anna and Alan's hand coming on stage. Tied in perfectly with my new love of podcasting. Again, that's why there's a microphone in front of the stage. In 2008, I started a podcast called Special Chronicles. Again, you can scan the QR code on your tables, the link to listen and subscribe. Special Chronicles has grown in the past 14 years to be more than a podcast. It's a platform which gives respect and voice to people with special needs. On the platform, Special Chronicles produces award-winning podcasts, columns, blogs, and live stream videos, similar to the live stream video that we're doing today. It has reached thousands of people each month globally. Many of the people I have interviewed on the podcast are part of the Special Olympics movement, either as athletes, unified coaches, coaches, volunteers, family members, staff, or sponsors. Like, for example, in that sizzle wheel, one of my guests and really good friends, fellow SSIGM, Hannah Atkinson from Colorado, she actually won an Emmy Award. And another example, Jill Mills, United Airlines is one of our big partners. All these folks have shared their voice with me and our listeners. Let me take a sip of water. I always have water when I'm podcasting, and as you know, I think one of the projects that you hopefully saw in the back was about hydration, and we know with our healthy athletes that hydration is important, so that's why I felt water. So another tip, if I can just remind you all, I'm sure you talk to any health professional, you know about the Ep.500, but 5 bottles of water a day. Hopefully that was okay to mention that. I'm grateful to be an athlete leader. Special Olympics Illinois has given me a bunch of ways to grow, to be engaged as an athlete leader. First, I serve as co-chair of our Athlete Leadership Council, which involves 5 weekly executive athlete leadership team meetings and hosting the quarterly statewide Athlete Leadership Council meetings. I also co-facilitate athlete leadership trainings in the new SOI curriculum. And I'm also part of the team that administers orientation for new board members. This came out from our Unified Leadership Workshop in Dublin, Ireland, that we were the only U.S. program to attend a few years ago, and I think we might be one of the only programs to have an athlete like myself to actually administer and host the orientation for our new board members. On the global stage, I have the huge honor of serving a multi-year appointment as a Southern Tribal International Global Messenger, or SSIGM for short. There are 10 of us, 3 from North America, so including myself in Illinois, including Texas and Colorado, 7 other countries, including Brazil, Great Britain, Zimbabwe, Kuwait, Pakistan, the Philippines, and Hong Kong are also represented. So big shout out to my fellow SSIGMs. It's really, like in our 1 week of training in Washington, D.C., I knew a couple of them before going there, but we all met for the first time, and we bonded as one SSIGM family in a week. As an SSIGM, I got to travel to the Abu Dhabi World Games in the United Arab Emirates in March 2019. There I got to interact with a lot of people at dignitaries from all over the globe. One highlight I will share with you, there was a lot, and I did a live podcast there. I wrote a blog about my experience there. But I know the ceremony today, we've got a lot of awards to give out, so I'll be brief. And share with you one highlight I will share was I got to spend time with Olympic speed skater Apollo Ono, the most decorated U.S. Olympic athlete. Great fun. I got to have lunch with him and his dad. I also was able to participate in an exhibition skating lesson with him, except we were on roller skates. But it was still fun. You can watch or listen to my podcast conversation with Apollo Ono on specialchronicles.com/podcast 385. Or once again, the staff is displaying it. Scan the QR code. And when you scan the QR code, do a search for episode 385 with Apollo Ono, and you can listen to hear Apollo share some great advice and great stories. So I highly recommend you listen to that episode with Apollo. My appointment is still ongoing, and I will travel to Berlin for the World Summer Games in June 2023. I'm looking forward to learning more about my role as an SSIGM at the World Games. I'm sure one will probably be doing podcasts for Special Olympics International, but my schedule will be really jam-packed. So I'm looking forward to heading to Berlin in June 2023. Let me take another sip of water. Stephen Hawking said, "Disability need not be an obstacle to success. Like everyone else on the planet, with and without disabilities, I've had my challenges and sometimes defeats. One of my biggest challenges is that people don't always understand my speech. I know now I'm speaking slowly, thanks to my speech coaches and my mom, even with the FaceTime last night to go over this speech, I often have to repeat things over and over and over and over and over and over. Sometimes, if there was a difficult word to say, I have to quickly think of an easier word to say. With these language difficulties, people think I'm stupid. Math concepts, as in handling money, for example, always trip me up. So I have to make sure people don't cheat me with money. That's why I'm glad another sponsor, Bank of America, who sponsors SSIGM and a big sponsor for athlete leadership, they have a vital money habits training that I've taken a few times. And so that's just a plug for Bank of America. Sometimes my challenges mean I don't succeed. For example, at a big second-hand store, I asked for the responsibility to be a cashier multiple times. And I know I could have blown the job, but to my humiliation, the management overlooked me time and time again. In the face of this defeat, I had to tell myself, you win some, you lose some. But I know I did the right thing by asking repeatedly for more responsibility. So I have held my head high going into my next job at United Airlines. Again, one of our global, should know this, platinum sponsors, Special Olympics International. And by the way, United Airlines featured me on the onboard in-flight entertainment system during National Disability Employment Awareness Month last year. So yeah, if you look, once again, if you scan the QR code and do a boy, do I hope our listenership goes up. If you scan the QR code and do a search in our Unified at Work series, which is sponsored by United's Bridge Business Resource Group, the episode with Toby and Jessica, Toby is the Chief Operations Officer at United, and Jessica is the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. That episode, which you can listen or watch, is the episode that played on all United flights. So the podcast, I'm sure every one of you is going to be scanning and listening when you're exercising, walking, driving, has been played in the friendly skies. Which the friendly skies, perfect company, perfect airline to hire us athletes. And I'm proud to be one of the original OG, one of the original athletes that United hired 3 years ago. So if you're flying on United and in Chicago at O'Hare International Airport, you can stop by and say hello. So I guess the 3 big things I've learned as I face my own challenges are: you win some, you lose some. Always hold your head high and keep asking for more responsibility. I've also learned that for success, I have to work hard, be very dependable, tolerate a long commute on the bus. I'm sure if a lot of you have long commutes, you can scan the QR code and listen to my podcast. It helps make time go by fast. Ask for help when needed, and not be afraid to toot my own horn. With the successes I've had, I try to bring my friends along so they succeed as well. For example, like I'm sure a lot of your athlete leaders have done this. I mentor other athlete leaders through athlete leadership training. We've got our second annual Leadership Academy in about a month. And then on my Special Chronicles podcast network, which, if you guys know what National Public Radio is, it's the NPR for those of us with disabilities. On my Special Chronicles podcast network, I try to give opportunities to other Special Olympics athletes to take over as hosts of podcasts, to write blogs on SpecialChronicles.com website, and to be featured on their own shows. From New York, athlete Katie Sanchez has written blogs on SpecialChronicles.com. My girlfriend Georgia, who has Down syndrome, Georgia's the one in the middle, but it could have blown things up a little bit. But she's the one in the middle wearing the headphones on the postcard at the tables. She hosts her own cooking show, Georgia's Kitchen Show, that is linked on SpecialChronicles.com and co-hosts the Georgia and Daniel Show, which the Georgia and Daniel Show is where we share stories about our life from a different angle. So again, scan the QR code on your table, and in addition to the Special Chronicles show, you can listen and subscribe to the Georgia and Daniel Show. From Illinois, athlete leaders Lisa and Coach co-host the Amazing Individuals podcast that is part of Special Chronicles Network. And again, just like your staff Paul, just right now, scan the QR code. You all can do that and find also links to the Special Chronicles show, the Georgia and Daniel show, and the Amazing Individuals podcast. Also in Illinois, we're collaborating with fellow athlete leaders to simulcast a new athlete-led podcast series, Meet the Inspired, which features dynamic individuals who are doing great things in support of Special Olympics Illinois. I also want to mention another athlete leader that I've collaborated with from, which a lot of you will know, right here, from your state of Special Olympics, Missouri, athlete, two-time USA Games athlete, Gwen Campbell. He was a guest. You might remember the episode number, but when you've done 14 years, 500 episodes, I forgot the episode number. But again, scan the QR code on the table, do a search for Gwen Campbell. You find that podcast episode just before he went to New Jersey USA Games in 2014. And that's why Dale has the fact checks. And I featured him when I wrote an award-winning newspaper called Special Voices. column, I think, was featured, and so that should also be linked as well. I'm sure after today, there'll be a lot more guests and stories to share. Before we close it out, get another sip of water again. Step 5, hydration. Okay, a little note to somebody might need, when I come off stage, I might need another bottle of water. Either my business manager, mentor, somebody, I don't know. All right. Albert Einstein said, everything that exists in your life does so because of two things. Something you did or something you didn't do. As you leave this leadership summit, what will you do to overcome your challenges and rise to success? Let me repeat that if you want to jot that down. In your program, on your phone, what will you do to overcome your challenges and rise to success? Think about that. Talk with your mentor. Talk with one of the staff. What will you do? What will you do to overcome your challenges and rise to success? From the bottom, I finished. See? Like clockwork. Let me just say, not just in Illinois, not just in Missouri, internationally, the staff of Special Olympics, your mentors, your parents, look out for you when you say that you need more water. Oh, it's nice cold water. From the bottom of my house, thank you. Thank you to Carol, Andrew, and all of you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. Just like I have never given up from defeating my challenges and rising to success, I hope you will continue to rise up to be the best leader you can be. Let me just remind you, you probably know, scan the QR code, listen and subscribe to our podcast on Special Chronicles on demand, anytime, anywhere. And boy, over 8,000 average listeners per month. I hope all listeners grows. And you can help, not only you in this room, but you can share with your friends. Share, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, rate and review, share, help us for all stories. My story, stories of my fellow athletes, this movement, share. so more people can hear our story, can hear about the love and joy that those of us with different abilities bring every day. And that they truly, our listeners will truly join the inclusion revolution, can truly, fully accept and include us. Have a great weekend at the Leadership Summit. A big congratulations to all the athlete leader graduates. And have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smukowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks as always to our business manager, Adam Smukowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smukowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.